Hello, I'm Xudong from Fudan University. Welcome to today's talk. I'm going to share with you our novel attack which cracks most of the existing white box watermarks on deep neural networks. As an appetizer, I would like to talk about digital watermarking, which is a conventional research area in computer security. Depending on the visibility of the watermarks, we can either directly stamp the watermark on the protected image, that is a visible watermark, or encode the message secretly in the image binary, which gives an invisible watermark. In the past decade, the construction of deep learning models is increasingly time-consuming and requires a large number of computational resources and data. This stimulates attackers to steer the well-trained models from the cloud or the end devices. They will also do ownership obfuscation by pruning, fine-tuning, or distillation on the stolen model. To protect and verify the ownership of deep learning models, DNA watermarking arises as a promising solution. Based on the position where the watermark is embedded, existing watermarking schemes are categorized into white box and black box. For example, in a white box scheme, we can embed the message, "This is a model of Fudan University," in the model internals, such as the parameters or the activation values. Even a model is obfuscated, the message can still be partially recovered. In comparison, black box watermarking embeds the ownership message in the input-output behavior, kind of similarity with backdoor attacks, but with a benign objective. To qualify a watermarking scheme, we need to assert its robustness under removal attacks. In such an attack, the attacker modifies the content, such as the image here, to make sure the watermark is gone, while the image quality remains good. Meanwhile, he or she needs to reduce the cost of the removal attacker. Otherwise, he or she may rather just buy a camera and learn photoing him or herself, right? To be formal, we systematize the evaluation metrics for removal attacks on DNA watermarks here. Other than the utility loss and the watermark verification success rate after removal, there are other two dimensions we'd like to emphasize. The first one is about attack efficiency. For example, how much the computation is required to conduct a removal attack. This should be no more than retraining a model, for example. And the other one is the attacker's knowledge. Does the attacker need to know whether there is a watermark in the model, or the position of the watermark, or the type of the watermark? And as a major contribution of this work, we propose a novel attack based on a new construction called dummy neurons. The attack has almost no cost in each dimension we mentioned above. Our novel attack employs the common vulnerability of the 9 white box watermarking schemes published at top-tier conferences for deep learning models. The verification success rate of the schemes are reduced to almost random. Let's introduce the insights on one of the earliest watermarking scheme proposed by Uchida et al. At 2017. The paradigm is quite classical that most of the following schemes employ the same idea. In this scheme, the watermark message is embedded in a convolutional kernel of the target model. The kernel is first extracted and pulled to get a flat vector. The vector is multiplied with a fixed secret matrix E, which is specified by the model owner, and go through a sigmoid function to produce a bit string, which is just the watermark message. Do you notice a problem here? What if the length of the weight W is tempered by the model thief? Then the verification process is even unexecutable due to the shape error during the matrix multiplication. Maybe the verification process can choose the top k largest values to restore the validity of the verification process, but it is not good according to our experiments. Then the question is how to convert such an observation into a novel attack. To do so, we come up with the idea of dummy neurons. Literally, these are the neurons which can be injected to the deep learning models without changing the functions at all. Such dummy neurons must exist. For example, we can inject neurons with 0 incoming weights or 0 outgoing weights. They both have no contribution to the final output, probably. In convolutional neural networks, the neurons are in fact the channels. And such a naive construction already results in a strong attack effectiveness on 8 of the 9 existing watermarks, only just for one of the watermarking scheme because it just chooses the top k values. Therefore, the naive construction has no influence on the scheme. However, we also find the construction is not stealthy at all. The model owner can just simply detect and remove these zero neurons and restore the validity of the watermark. To enhance the stealthiness of the construction, we equip with our removal tag with more comprehensive primitives for constructing stealthy dummy neurons. The first one is called neuron click, which literally inserts a set of ReLU neurons to cancel each other out. The key here is that the summation of the outgoing weights are zero matrix. We further use the scaling obfuscation we developed in our recent KDD23 paper to scale the incoming and outgoing weights of the dummy neurons to remove the detectable traces to a large extent. In contrast, the neuron split primitive is based on the original neurons in the protected model. It will split one original neuron to several ones, where the set of dummy neurons exhibit exactly the same behavior as the original one. The key equation here is the summation of the outgoing weights of the dummy neurons should be equal to that of the original one. Another interesting construction is called the kernel expansion, which just pads the kernels of 3 channels, for example, with the kernel weights which can cancel each other out. This is shown in the diagram at the left. This directly tempers the shape of the kernel parameters, while neuron click and neuron split mainly temper the number of the neurons. And by applying these structural obfuscation primitives randomly and repetitively on the protected model, it can make the obfuscated DNA model to be very unlike to its original self. Both the channel numbers and the channel size in each layer are almost irrelevant from the original model. Besides, we further employ our parameter obfuscation techniques, including neuron shuffling, which just permute the position of the channels in one layer, and weight scaling, which just rescale the incoming and outgoing weights of one neuron to make it different from the other ones, and also some flipping to obfuscate the parameter values. All these operations drastically perturbs the white box watermark messages embedded in the model internals, while it probably preserves the model utility. Now you must get more senses from this slide. Our novel attack is based on injecting dummy neurons into neural networks. The dummy neurons obfuscate both the number and the size of the parameters in the protected models. It directly results in a shape error of the verification process if without no fault tolerance mechanisms in the watermarking schemes. If there were, the verification success rate is still almost random, as existing schemes are not resilient against the injected dummy neurons with arbitrary weights. Therefore, the vulnerability of these schemes are very clear. Finally, we would also like to highlight the conceptual similarity between DNA obfuscation and program obfuscation. In our perspective, our proposed dummy neural attack is mainly devised for tempering the ownership of a protected model by obfuscating the model internals and structures. Differently, the program obfuscation modifies the control flow and the variable numbers and names to increase the difficulty of the binary to be reverse engineered. They share the commonality that the operations of the DNA watermark obfuscation and program obfuscation preserve the functionality of the original artifacts. We further study some potential defenses which aims at detecting and removing the dummy neurons. We find only for a strong defender who knows the construction of the dummy neurons very well can detect the dummy neurons and remove them from the model. However, the obfuscation effect or scaling and shuffling is still present. According to our discussion in our KDD23 paper, the effect can hardly be reverse engineered, and we suspect the watermark is permanently gone after our attack. Here's the takeaway message. Our paper proposes the dummy neural attack, which exploits the common vulnerability of 9 white box DNA watermarking schemes. Compared with existing attacks, our attack is the first to disable the verification procedures of these watermarks under no requirements on utility loss, dataset access, training costs, or watermark knowledge. We call for more strong white box watermarking schemes for deep neural networks with by design robustness against structural and parameter obfuscation we studied in our recent progresses. And thank you for watching. For more details, please feel free to read our paper and drop us emails. Thank you.